It as much as you probably hated it, but it wasn't a very good film. It wasn't very worth the time.
I think it might be interesting to, before we get into Ant-Man 3, maybe we should just really quickly cover the first two films, what we thought of them, just for a bit of background. Because I think it's important. I think it'll be relevant.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Well,
do you know much of the background of the first one?
I've watched the first one. I've watched the second one. I haven't watched the things that take place in between. That would probably give me more context.
So do you have any idea as to how the first Ant-Man film got made?
Wasn't it supposed to be Edgar Wright making it, but then he quit because of creative differences, and then they got
exactly.
Then Adam McKay came in as well at some point.
So basically, in the first one, I would say there's a couple of scenes where you can really feel Edgar Wright's writing in there.
Yeah, I felt that as well.
And I think the first one is easily the best one, just because some of the comedy is just so tight and on point, and I really like all the supporting cast. Like, whether you like Ant-Man as a character or not, the movie itself has a really good ensemble of characters, really good performances. Everyone's super likable. What's that guy's name who's in it? Forget now. The guy, his mate, who's got the fucking truck, and he's like, he's just smiling at him when he's like, "No, my folks got deported." And he's just smiling. And I'm like, this guy is just so fucking funny. Like,
this is Michael Pena, I think, or Pena.
Yeah, Michael Pena. He's really fucking good. I'd forgotten his name. He's really, really good. I really like him.
And he's in the second one as well. And they didn't bring him back in the third one.
This is the thing. I feel like the third one is really missing his vibe. Why couldn't you have shrunk him? We'll get into that. When we talk about Ant-Man 3. But yeah, what did you think of the first one? Because I liked it. I liked that it was like a change of pace. It was a heist film.
Yeah, it was a good change of pace. I really quite liked the ending when stuff started, like the fight being around a little train set, and then you have these things like a Thomas the Tank Engine just exploding through the roof of a house. Like, that's obviously, I think, Edgar Wright there, because Thomas the Tank Engine is a very British thing. But yeah, I really liked it. It was very refreshing to see how much you could do with just this idea of changing the size of stuff. It was really quite enjoyable.
I really liked it. Because I really like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids as well. I feel like shrinking down movies can be really good if you've got a good eye for the shot and you've got a good eye for the direction. They can be fucking brilliant.
Yeah, you have to be
really like them.
You have to be a solid director to be able to know how you can film something like that.
For sure. It is a massive undertaking. So I really like the first one. What do you think of the second one? I wasn't a huge fan of the second one, if I'm totally honest.
I still quite enjoyed the second one. There was a gap in between the first and the second where there's an Avengers movie. I'm not sure which one. That didn't, but for me, that wasn't a big problem. I haven't really seen many Avengers films, so I don't really know. But I think I mentioned this in the previous podcast, how they went through it quite well. It wasn't a big issue that I hadn't seen the previous anything that took place in between. They explained it nicely. The thing, what was I saying? Oh yeah, the second one. Damn it, my thoughts just gone removed. But I did actually find the second one was actually quite fun. I still quite enjoyed it. I liked the chase going through San Francisco. I found it quite enjoyable. It was funny when it was supposed to be funny. The thing that bothered me, but actually this film, the third one, is kind of fixed in a bit of a shit way, if you ask me. I always thought that they found, it's Michelle Pfeiffer, right, who plays the mother of Hope. I was always wondering, like, what the fuck did she eat down there? How did she live for 30 years in this strange-looking blob? It looks like the color of, like, when oil is in a puddle in the street from a car or something. Like, what? How did she live down here? And then yeah, we find out in this film that there's a whole universe thing,
I mean,
and I have a
well,
lot to say on that shit.
I mean, yeah, we'll get into it, but it has to be said. I do think the third film improves on the quantum universe, but not by a huge amount. But we'll get into that. I'll just let you know what's in between Ant-Man 1 and 2 is, I believe, Captain America 3, where the Avengers sort of split into two and they have to fight each other. And Ant-Man fought with Captain America's team, and
Hmm.
Spider-Man was recruited for Iron Man's team. That was the introduction of the new Tom Holland Spider-Man.
Oh.
Uh, so people love that one. I'm on the fence about it because I first watched it, I liked it. This second time, I didn't like it, and I sort of every time I watch it, I change my opinion on it, and I'm currently in the negative. So I'm sure if I watch it again, I'll be like, no, I like this one, and then I'll watch it again, and I'll be like, nah, I just chop and change on it every time I watch it. It's all
Mm.
right. I think it's worth a watch for sure. I think Captain America 2 is better though. I really like Captain America 2, and I'm not a Captain America fan at all, but I really like the second one. I think it's a really tight film. I think you'd really like it. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, you got the Captain America 3 in the between Ant Man 1 and 2, and then in between 2 and 3, you've had like the big Avengers event, the last Avengers film, Endgame and Infinity War.
Hmm.
Um,
So a lot has happened. A lot of big
yeah,
stuff.
a lot of big stuff has happened. Uh, so I mean, I think the first Ant Man film's a solid 8 out of 10 in terms of a superhero film. 6 out of 10 as a film. I think if Edgar Wright had made it, it'd be nine out of 10 across the board. I just reckon Edgar Wright would have made it perfect. Uh,
Mm.
the second one, I'd give it a 5. Like I didn't think it was terrible, and the characters that I like are still in it. Uh, but it's a meh. It's sort of like I say, 5 or a 6. It's like very middle ground for me. Very like, you know, it's decent. It's fun. It's and Walton Goggins is in it. Fucking love that guy.
Mm. Yeah, I forgot about him as well. I like him.
Yeah, I really like him. Uh, all right. So, do you have a rating for the first two Ant-Man films?
Well, I would probably give the second one a bit of a higher rating than you have. I would say it's at least a 6 or maybe even a 7. It's not that bad. I don't know. As someone who hasn't really
7.
watched, yeah, I quite enjoyed it. I was quite happy with that one. I would probably, yeah, probably rate the first one higher. Maybe like an 8, like you said, or something. I wouldn't say that the second one fell too far behind the first. The thing about the first one that kind of bothers me is that it's got quite the underlying story is quite basic, really, isn't it? A guy who's not very probably not the best choice for this job has to be trained to do a heist, and at the end he's like fighting some other bad guy, and they're like equally the same. I don't know. This is the whole thing about
Well,
them training and stuff. Do you know what
yeah,
I'm trying to
it,
say?
yeah. Well, it's this trope of all these superhero films where the bad guy always has to be just exactly the same as the good guy, except a little bit stronger, but exactly the
Yeah.
same set. First Iron Man, it was him against another dude in an Iron Man suit. Uh, what else? Spider Man and Venom. Fuck,
Hmm.
there's loads. There's literally loads.
Yeah, so that's one thing that I found a bit okay. They're doing that whole setup again.
And I feel
Um,
like Captain America, every movie they've done that. The first one, it was Red Skull. Second one, it was Winter Soldier. And the third one, it was Iron Man. So it's like, yeah, you're basically fighting the same dude. At least the Iron Man one, it was something a bit different.
yeah, but that's a minor thing, really, because what really helped Ant Man in those first two films was just knowing how you can play around with this thing about size and doing it
Yeah.
really well. Like in the first one, it was all about shrinking down. Second film, you had shrinking down, but
Getting big
also
as well.
yeah, and they played it really nicely with the whole thing about this building, and then you're fitting
Yeah.
the building into a car, and the car shrinks as well. Like it was quite. I liked how they thought of
Doesn't
it, things like that.
doesn't make sense though.
No, it doesn't. No.
Because if you're just to shrink something, they explain it as they're just shortening the distance between atoms, right?
Yeah.
So if that's the case, then its density and its weight would still remain the same. So you're telling me you could drag around a building or have a cut like a fucking Hot Wheels container full of cars? Like, no, it doesn't make sense. You wouldn't be able to carry that around.
But even Antman himself suffers from that, because when he shrinks down, he should still have the weight of a man. So he can't really do all the stuff.
But he does though, right?
So they kind of fucked it a little bit with that, if you want to get into the details. But
exactly, it would still weigh the same as a building, or the same as 12 supercars. Like, it'd be fucking heavy.
Wouldn't that also mean the opposite is also true? When he gets really large, you're just increasing the space between the atoms. So surely although he'd be huge, he'd weigh just about as much as an average guy. That'd be quite weird, actually, wouldn't it?
He would, but you have to bear in mind that he does have mass. The mass does make a difference on impact. So he would be expanding his mass.
Shroud.